Hello and welcome back to Turf Moor House TV, and we're back with another match preview. It is a bit behind, but that's just teething issues. You know what I'm like, the internet's usually shit on my end. However, I weren't the one in the wrong today. Get in! That said, I'm looking forward to chatting to not just an opposition fan, but someone I feel like I can really call them mate. And we will eventually get that pint at a game. It's just everything always seems to come up when it happens. But yeah, we're going to ask Anne all about obviously the fantastic start that Sunderland had and where things are going to go over the course of the season. Please do drop us a like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help with the algorithm. So please do drop all that. You can also support us. There's a link in the description. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, but basically it just helps and it goes straight to the bank. How easy is that? It doesn't go to YouTube, so you're not having shit taken off. Cushy. Um, but no, please do show your support. Really does help. And like I said, get involved in the chat. Let us know what you think. If you've got any questions, Fran, fire them in and we'll ask away later. But without further ado, let's bring the main man in himself, Mr. Ant Waterson. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, my friend. Nice to speak to you again, actually. Been a long time, hasn't it? Been flip-flopping, haven't we?
It's strange because when I put in the actual link, it was tomorrow last year
Was it really?
that we last got together. Yeah,
Wow.
like
We couldn't
this.
have been talking about football then, could we? We're in different leagues, weren't we? Yeah. Mad, wasn't it? I mean, it great. I
It's
mean, like a massive journey for us both, isn't it? Like, I wasn't expecting us
yeah,
to go up. I think you guys were expecting us to go up, and then for us both to go up, like, we both said it, didn't we? Obviously, on another podcast
yeah,
that
we
we did.
did.
But we chuffed it. We both, here we are in the Premier League together.
Bro, I can't believe it. Like it's just it's so surreal because the way you had to go through the hard way of doing it, didn't you? Through the playoffs, and especially after the first game against Coventry, everyone was a bit like, I don't think Sunderland are going to do it. Just Dan Ballard, the one who turned Burnley down.
You know what you just said there, right? You've done it the hard way. There's doing it the hard way, and then there's doing it the Sunderland way, which was literally the way we did it. Just scoring in the last minute of the home tie with Big Dan Ballard, and then a lad whose last kick of his career at Sunderland before he went to Brighton, young Tommy Watson, wins it at Wembley. I mean, I said this a few times. Like, you cannot write stuff like that. You know, even the man with the
Yeah,
wildest imagination could not write that stuff. But it happened, and I'm just happy to get that. You know, kind of. I think it's like a monkey off our backs. Obviously, like 8 years out of the loop, really, and we've been in some really down times. Obviously, we got relegated twice, and coming back up through League One, where it took 4 years, and we had some poor players play for us, and we had some, like League One Dosses doing the Alan Shearer celebration every time they scored against us, which was nice. To have that and now to have gone full circle and be back, I mean, it's still one of them things where I'm still just waiting to wake up and we're back in League One or something. I mean, it's just mad.
I just got to ride the wave, haven't you? One thing I do have to say is that my little girl will not let me go without showing this. She made me a little notebook and she's put like Burnley FC all over it. And she's told me, Daddy, use it to write your notes and stuff. So I said, it's pointless because your writing's better than mine. But I've wrote a few things down anyway. But yes, Esme, there you go, just for you to see. Daddy's got his notebook. Hi to the missus in the chat. She's in. Martin's in as well. Hope you're well. And like I say, people, get yourselves involved. Get them comments in. Let us know what you're up to, how your week's been. And yeah, looking forward to, well, from Burnley's perspective, getting their season underway. But yeah, let's start then. Obviously, we spoke about the playoffs, doing it the Sunderland way, as you like to call it. And what was your initial thoughts with the summer? Obviously, you knew Enzo Lafay were going to join on a permanent. Um, But what other than that, could you foresee the amount of transfers that you've made and the massive step up that you've sort of made on a squad basis?
I think we had to. Obviously, you look at the blueprint of what's happened in the last couple of years, where the three sides that have gone up have come back down, and especially
Yeah,
last season when all three were poor, weren't they? Like Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester, they were all poor, and they didn't buy. I don't think many of them bought particularly well. I mean, Ipswich kind of just thought we'll buy the best players out of the Championship, and it just shows you the gulf in class, doesn't it? At the minute, where that you've got to do something different, I think, and well, if you're asking us now, like 3 months ago, when we did go up, that we'd be signing, the likes of Habib Diarra, and putting like 37 million quid into one player and getting linked with like these, international pedigree quality footballers. You're like, I honestly wouldn't have believed you. The fact that they're bringing in, like proper good footballers mixed with that experience.
yeah,
And obviously, that I think the signing of Granit Xhaka is the one for me. I think that'll end up being the sign of the season, not just for Sunderland, for probably the whole Premier League. I mean, 17 million quid for a bloke who's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, and hats blew away. You know what I mean? He is a top quality footballer, and it's just one of them things. You're like, is this really happening to us? It just feels like it's a different stage in our history, which we've never been in before as fans. Obviously we had like the Phillips and Quinn era when we did have some very good footballers here, but they weren't costing that much more money. When Kevin Phillips cost like 100 grand or something, you know what I mean? The fact that we're spending it to try and stay up, and you know what, even if it ends up being a sad story and we do go back down to the Championship, at least we've had a go, and that's all I think the fans want. They just want, like, they don't want us to don't think they want us to, like, the 15 or 18 points or something like that. They want us to battle, you know what I mean, to try and get there. And you look at that, the squad now on paper. I'm already looking at thinking I think there's worse teams than us this season, but football's not won and lost on paper, is it? So it's quickly that they all have to gel. It looked well on Saturday. Don't get us wrong, but that's it's one game out of 38, so
yeah,
but it's a good start, and like I say, getting some of these players over the line who I've got to admit I didn't know much about. I mean, I know Habib Diarra quite well of his Senegalese game against England and stuff, and I thought he was outstanding. But
yeah.
a few of them like Noah Siddiqui, I didn't really have much clue on. He's been class in pre-season and stuff like that. But I think with Sunderland fans, you've just got to trust those who are in charge behind the scenes, because since the whole, Christian Speedman KLD stuff's happened, the majority of signings have been good. They've outweighed the bad. Yes, they've signed some. They have failed a couple of times, but finders a club it wasn't, and you know what I mean. So
True, true. You said there Granit Xhaka could be one of the signings of the season. A lot of fans thinking it was going to be a swift return for Jordan Henderson to the stadium a lot. But I mean, did you see it? Is it one of those things you'd have welcomed? Like, obviously, I think once that move to Brentford came about, it wasn't long after that the Xhaka move happened, and it was almost like you needed that sort of leader and experience, that tough nut in midfield. Do you think maybe potentially there was a chance that you've a door open for Henderson, but he just chose elsewhere?
I thought it was a no-brainer that he would be the one that we went for and maybe make him captain and everything like that. But it came from an early point that we went in for him. I don't think there was ever any
Really?
chats with us and him or anything like that. Or there might have been the odd, like there was the odd rumor and everything like that, but there was never anything concrete. And when he went to Brentford, I think you kind of look at it, his career now where he's at, and he's been out the Premier League a little while, hasn't he? He hasn't quite
Yeah,
worked wherever he's gone. He had that short stint in Dubai and stuff, and then he went to Holland and stuff like that. And you know what? I wish him all the best, because I would have loved him back. But I think when you look at that, and when we signed Xhaka, you kind of look at that. Maybe we're going after just that extra step up.
yeah,
This is not no like Jordan Henderson, who's won everything, you know what I mean? But he's at the time of his career where maybe he can't play every game, or maybe we couldn't promise him to play every game. And with the World Cup season coming up, he wants to play, pretty much every minute of every game. So I think for that, it was probably fair enough, to be honest.
Yeah, fair shout, fair shout. Out of your signings, then, I think didn't you bring Mark Way in on loan as well from Chelsea?
Yeah, yeah, he's from Chelsea. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Simon Adingra for me, I think, is up there as a decent signing from Brighton. I think he'll come good. Um, I liked the look of your keeper. Is it Royce?
But I think it's Roofs. I think it's pronounced
Roos?
Roofs. I think. Yeah, yeah. Well, he was the Netherlands goalkeeper in the under-21 tournament that's just gone. So I got a little bit of background on him, watched a little bit on YouTube, everything like that, and he looks a solid goalkeeper. I think when we signed him originally, they kind of said, "What's your best asset?" And he's like, "Well, I like to command me box. I like to talk to me defenders." And he looks like a little bit of your typical goalkeeper's a bit mad. He looks like one of them,
Yeah,
and that was our problem with Anthony Patterson. To be fair, Patterson made that save at Wembley, which was one of the best saves I've ever seen live. But Patterson's always been an excellent shot stopper, but he's not had that command of his box. He's quite quiet, and he's normally a little bit poor on crosses. Where you look at Riv so far, his crossing ability is excellent, and he seems to be marshalling his defence quite well. So, and I mean, the lad's only a kid, so it looks as if it's going to be one of them ones that we
yeah,
sign. See what his potential is, and fingers crossed he can live up to that. But it's a risk that signing a young goalkeeper, but he looks the business like.
definitely. What did you make on pre-season? Obviously, you finished the pre-season with I think we're at 3-0 loss at home against the Spanish side. I can't remember. Rayo Vallecano?
Vallecano, yeah, it was
Yeah.
Vallecano.
I mean, what did you make of pre-season? I know it's not much to really go off, but it sets you up a little bit for the season, seeing some of the new signings. What did you make of the style of play that Reggie Labrie were trying to instill in them in anticipation for the Prem?
It's pretty much what we were doing towards the back end of last season, where we wanted to be a team who you struggle to break down. And if you keep clean sheet in games, you're guaranteed a point, didn't you? You know what I mean? And try and
Yeah,
get the counter attacks and everything like that, which what we did very very well last year, especially in the games where the big games where we were playing well. We counter attack teams really well, and we kind of showed that in pre-season. I mean, I always write pre-seasons off anyway because it doesn't particularly matter. But the fact that we were bringing all these players in and they hadn't quite all played together, you could see they were still trying to learn each other and see what everyone else was doing. Then when Jacka came in, I think he played his first game against Celta Vigo. We got beat 1-0 in that one, and he looked the business and we just seemed to look a little bit more solid with him in. And then we did 2 games in 2 days. So we had Augsburg on the Saturday and Vallecano on the Sunday, and he switched the teams up. So he had his first 11 playing Augsburg, and they won 1-0. And then obviously the Vallecano one was his second 11, which still had, Enzo the Fair, Patrick Roberts, the good players. And Vallecano did a number on us, I'm not going to lie. Vallecano were excellent. And we just we weren't at the races, to be honest. But I think a few fans were a little bit it's a rude awakening now. But you look at the quality, the caliber of those teams that are playing there, these are good sides, you know what I mean? So I wasn't worried. I always see, take it back to, you look at last year when we went on that run towards the end of the season where Regis was playing, players, trying to get all the squad involved and everything like that. So, because when you can rely on them in the playoffs. And then we went into playoff mode and we ended up, getting up. So you just got to trust him, man. You know what I mean? And you know what happened on Saturday. So it all gelled, it all clicked, didn't it? And
it did. Certainly did. I think not just myself, but fans of other clubs obviously were a little bit sceptical on Sunderland's journey to the Premier last year because, I mean, you were top for a good chunk, and then it just sort of. Who was the team in League One or League Two that were top for ages and ended up pissing it up the wall? Wycombe,
Walsall,
Walsall, that was it.
Walsall.
It almost felt like you'd done a little bit of that, but you'd still managed to keep yourself. No matter what happened, you still kept yourself in that playoff pack, and you never dropped out over that period of time. And you just felt like, oh, are they going to be in there? Are they going to make up the numbers? But sometimes you go under the radar. And I think you said it towards the back end of the campaign there that Regis has said that's it now. We need everyone to step up. The playoffs are around the corner. This is where you show your true colours and show your credentials, put everything out on the field. And like I say, it was hard, but you managed to get it over the line. And speaking of getting it over the line, like you said, last weekend, I mean, Graham Potter and his West Ham team, not the best, but still, every game is a tough game in the Premier League, and you managed to absolutely smash the living shit out of them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it was the first half was an even game. Don't get us wrong. I thought West Ham, probably just edged it in the first half. That they especially with like chances created and stuff like that. I mean, like Roosters had to make a decent save from Bowen, and you can see that Bowen, yeah, Bowen's a top quality footballer. You could tell with that. And but apart from that, it was like when you go on half time, you're like, well, these are there for the beat for the taking. We just need a bit of luck. And we got that through, through Eliza Mayendo. I was over the moon. Absolutely chuffed to bits that he got the first goal because he was like 18 months ago. He wasn't getting a game for Hibs under 21s. We farmed him out on loan to Hibs. Couldn't get a game for their 21s, and then Regis just took a chance on him last year because we didn't have a fit striker. We only had like Eliza, and he went and scored his first game, and I think he's not really looked back. I was chuffed for him. Really was. It was a really good header. I think the keeper should do better, but it's a really, really nice header. He gets it on target. That's all you can do. And the stadium just erupted. Dan, I've said before, like the Dan Ballard goal against Coventry was the loudest I've ever known that stadium, and the happiest I probably have ever been supporting this football club. But that on Saturday was something else. That was next level. If there was a roof, it would have been off. You know what I mean? It would have been in the North Sea. It was just, how loud it was, and there's like a couple of local commentators that said that when they were getting like the feed from their editors or whatever in the earphones, they couldn't hear it because of how loud we were. It was just an absolutely incredible feeling, and then to get a second one. And I think it was really, really nice for Dan Ballard as well to score. He pretty much got us here with a colossal performance, but he was amazing. And Wilson Isidore as well, who again last year obviously Burnley know him really well. But for him to get a goal was nice because he's not been playing that much in pre-season. I think he's going to be one of the ones where he does come off. He does come off the bench. But he was great when he came on. Really nice for him, and it just goes to show as well. Like we've signed all these players, but our 3 goal scorers were here last year, and that's nice as well. To have that, you've still got that, like love for these lads as well, which is great. And it was mint. I mean, we were top of the league for an hour and a half, so that was nice. But City had to go and spoil it. Apart from that, tremendous, mate, absolutely tremendous.
I was just looking at a stat as well regarding that West Ham game that you ended a run of 8 league matches against West Ham without a win. As you'd drawn 4 and lost 4. It was your first victory over the Hammers since January 2013, which you also won 3-0.
Did we really? There we go.
Yeah.
Don't ask us to name the goal scorers because I really couldn't tell you.
I don't think it. Yeah, no, don't even tell me. I wish it did. West Ham became the 4th team to concede 900 away goals in the Premier League after Everton, who have 925, Spurs 922, and Newcastle with 912.
Hey.
But the Hammers have done it in the fewest number of matches out of the 4 teams in there. I think you said it as well, didn't you, the other day on Absolute Football Pod, that Mayenda, Ballard, and Wilson Isidore are the first players to score on their debut in the same match.
No, we made the most. We gave the most debuts to. There was 8 players making the first game, playing the first game for us.
Oh, yeah.
And that was that's the most we've ever gave new play so it was the most debuts ever made by us. Obviously, since the first game of the season, first game they've ever played, where it was 11 players would have made the first game in our history, but it was the most debuts given by Sunderland too in one
So
game.
this is a different stat then. So it says in Eliza Mayenda, Dan Ballard, and Wilson Isidore, Sunderland are the first team to have 3 players score on their Premier League debut in the same match since Reading against Middlesbrough in August 2006, which was Dave Kitson, Steve Sidwell, and Leroy Lita.
Yeah. Oh, you can see that, yeah, because none of them have played Premier League, so yeah. I mean, that's like kind of the thing that with us, there's only a handful of players in our squad that have played in the Premier League before. So you're on about all his experience and stuff like that, but you look at some of the players brought in, like Ronaldo, the left back, who's a vastly international, vastly international
Nice to
player.
see you've got Ronaldo in your team, innit? Come on.
It is very nice, yeah, it's very nice. But you look like Granit Xhaka and that. But even Alderate, who came from Getafe, he's an international player. He's plays regularly for his country. So you kind of do need that. I think you do need some Premier League experience. But when you've got players who are coming from other clubs who are seasoned pros, and again, I don't think it matters as long as they settle quickly, which I think a few of them have, and. I think there's a couple more to come if you believe the local rags. So fingers crossed.
Oh, definitely, definitely. What have you made then of Regis Labrie and how he's adapted Sunderland on a whole? Because a lot of questions were asked. Is he going to be the man to take Sunderland forward? He's obviously shown that he is. But yeah, what have you made of it so far? And obviously, at the moment, it's a chapter that's still being written, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. What I will say about Regis de Briss, I think when you look at your Brightons and your Brentfords and stuff, and even going higher up than that, where they when they get new managers in, they're already looking 2 or 3 years down the line. If their manager goes to a bigger one, who could get? And I think Regis is that next one on a lot of teams' list. They'll be looking at him and what he's done here, and thinking that he could do a job there. I'll tell you one thing about him, which I've really find about him. He is a very, very, very clever man. He pays a lot of attention and detail and everything like that, and everything is down to the finest of margins and stuff like that with him. And when he came, obviously I didn't know much about him and everything like that, but first few games, he got us playing some very nice football and stuff. And obviously, I mean, it couldn't have gone much worse under the Mike Dodds and the Mike Beale kind of thing. And so we weren't expecting much, but what he has brought has been amazing. And I think he's gone on this journey with the fans as well. He's very, very like kind of it's the players that are doing it. He's not got this ego like running onto the pitch and all that palaver. He's very happy that the players do the work and stuff like that, or that the players take the credit and stuff. But you think, like, obviously going back to last year when he did decide, when I think we'd lost to Leeds, and that was when it was kind of like, oh, we're not going to get automatics. We're just going to stay where we are. And we were in a nice position that we were probably guaranteed the playoffs anyway, because there was us four, wasn't there? There was like the top four
Yeah.
were miles ahead of any other side in that league. And we, he did give some kids a chance and made a big decision of giving Tommy Watson a lot of minutes. And it could have ended very badly. That was a big risk. And had we not got promoted, there would have been a lot of fans thinking, well, we still had that opportunity, and we kind of tossed it away to try and get up in the playoffs. It was a massive, massive risk, but it was a very good calculated risk, because it just gave, when we went into that playoffs, the players who were out injured and everything like that who come back were just ready to go. He didn't rush anyone back, and we mentioned Ballard. Ballard came on in the last 45 against, I think it was QPR, or last game of the season, and he came on 45. We're like, well, this is going to be his 11 against Coventry during the week. And it was exactly that 11 that started that
Yeah.
second half, and it made him. It made like Chris Mepham had to go on the bench for them 2 games, and Chris Mepham was outstanding for us last year. It was just that he knew what he was doing, and fair play to him. He's got us where we are, and he said exactly the same this year. As we've just got to take every game at a time. It sounds so cliche, but he's right. We've got to take the bumps, because there is going to be bumps this season. There's probably going to be games where we do lose 4-5-0 or whatever. But it makes them highs a little bit more sweet, and that's what made Saturday, I think, more sweeter for Sunderland fans. Was we kind of went into that game expecting to win, and that's mad, absolutely mad. And
Yeah.
the fact that we did, and we did in that kind of the way we did it, we kind of blew away a side who, an established Premier League team. Yeah, I know they've gone through gone through a lot of problems lately and stuff like that. And I think Graham Potter's under a lot of pressure, especially the way they just folded like deck chairs, to be honest, when we scored the first one. But the fact we just like brushed them aside, and this is a side who went up in the playoffs. It's not like, the side who were like, 20 odd points behind Burnley and Leeds last year. It was just, it was crazy. But the fact he sacrificed that to get us up through the playoffs was amazing, and he will be on. Like I say, he signed a new contract with us, so if teams do want him, they have to pay a good penny for him. But he's kind of emboldens what this squad's about. Getting like a young, hungry manager in, letting him do what happens. And then if he goes to a bigger level, and that's fair enough. And that's what we're doing with players. You saw it with Job already. He's gone off to Dortmund. There's players in that. I mentioned Habib Diarra. Habib Diarra played Champions League in 2 or 3 years' time. Hopefully with us. But, if not, he'll be in a big club. He'll be in a massive club. I think that's the way football has to be in this time, Dan. I don't think the days where you're putting 60, 70 million on a player all the time and spending 250 million, it's not going to happen. You've seen it with PSR now. It's not going to work, and I think having this kind of model in where you buy them young, hopefully they end up being very good players for you. They give you some good times, and then they sell them at a big profit. It's what business people do, and why shouldn't football be seen as a business?
Yeah, 100%. You've got to look about. Obviously, we as fans see the 11 on the field and think that's it. That they're the 11 that represent us that week. But we don't think about everybody else sat in the offices, making sure that them graphics are flashing on the big screen, and all the little bits that don't get seen. The tea lady, the kit man having to rush out and sort a kit out because there's a player who's superstitious and wants to wear 2 kits. One it first off, one it second. All these little bits. But that said, your kit man's going to be busy because he's going to have to obviously get the away kit all nice and prepped for Saturday. The trip to Turf Moor, I know you're making it yourself. Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, it's a 6-pointer. There's no question about it, isn't it?
I don't think you can say this early in the season that it's a 6-pointer. I think it's a big game for us both because, if we want to stay up, I think we've got to be looking to beat each other. You know what I mean? You'll be thinking exactly the same about us. We're a side that you want to, if you can finish above us, it's one extra team. You're just thinking, right, there's 2 more. Let's pick 2 more. You know what I mean? So, it is a big. I think it's one of them ones where I'm kind of glad it's early than November and December, where if we're both not on form or whatever, and then I think it becomes a 6-pointer. But I think whoever wins on Saturday, I don't think it's going to be the be all and end all, because there's still so many games left, and it's still too early in the season to kind of look at the table. Yeah, I looked at the table on Saturday because we were top for an hour. You know what I mean? But it's still quite early on. I think more of if it was say November, December, and we'd been on runs where we're both in the bottom 3.
I was going to say, I think the return legs end of January, innit, for us?
Yeah.
We travel to Stadium at end of Jan.
Yeah, I mean, if we're both in the relegation zone in January, I'd probably look at and say that's probably a 6-pointer. I think Saturday, it's I think you know what?
Fans will say it's a 6-pointer, but the team, the players, the manager, it's just like any other game. You go out there and you play it. Every team is out there you've got to go out there and beat every team put in front of you. That's the whole aim of trying to stay up. But yeah, I see what you mean. I do see what you mean. How do you think you'll set up going forward on Saturday?
I think it'll just be the same. I think I'd be surprised if it's maybe we make the one change. I think obviously Jensen Sealed went off injured on Saturday with a back injury, and to be fair to Jensen, he missed a lot of last year because he did his knee, did his ACL, and he's been slowly making his way back, and I think he might go out on loan, to be honest. So I'd imagine Alderate or is it Madriki who we brought in from PSG? I'd imagine one of them will start over him. I think it'll be Alderate. And yeah, totally agree with that, Colin, by the way. Send
Yeah,
Leeds down.
we all want Leeds to go down.
I can't see any more changes. I can't see him doing overly much because obviously it's still a side that's still gelling together and everything like that. So, maybe just the one change. I think it'll probably be the same formation. And I think there'll be another one where we look to, you guys at the home side, probably let yourself more of the ball and us try and, get your way on our counter attack. I mean, we've got pace down each flank now with Talby, isn't it, the new signing, and Adringer, as you mentioned before. I mean, I do kind of relish watching Adringer up against Kyle Walker. I think that'll be a really good battle. I'm really looking forward to that. And obviously, my end down the middle, who's pacey as well. So I think we'll probably look to, very similar to what it was at the Moor last year, where I think we did soak up a lot of pressure early on, but then towards the end of the game, it looked like there was only going to be one winner, and it should have been us. I mean, it was 2 penalties,
Yeah,
but
100%. Yeah, 100%.
but I think it'll be very similar to that, where we kind of grow into the game a bit more. But we'll see what happens, man. I'm looking forward to making the trip down. Last time I was at Burnley, we got beaten in the FA Cup third round replay, and it was awful. And I went down to watch Elliot Emmel, they never even came on. But, yeah. And a terrible journey back home because we ended up getting lost and going up the back roads to Skipton, and it was foggy as hell, and I thought I was going to die. Yeah, it was a bad night all around, but I'm looking forward to it. We're really looking forward to going down and seeing some of these lads as well. If Alderati makes his debut or whatever, seeing some of them and just looking forward to it. Nice day out on Saturday, I think. See what
Nice
happens.
day out in Burnley. Get that
Yeah,
shit on a
that's it.
t-shirt.
But we're drinking in York actually before, and we're not even coming
Yeah.
to Burnley for a drink now. We're having a couple of drinks in
Yeah.
York first, and then I think we're getting in Burnley for 2 o'clock, and then
Oh,
going
that's
straight to
not too
Stadium.
bad.
No,
That's not too bad. Couple of stats that I pulled up before the game. Burnley are unbeaten in their last 3 Premier League home games against Sunderland, winning 2 and drawing 1. And the most recent was a 4-1 victory in December 2016. I think that's when Andre Gray bagged an hat trick. I
I've,
think.
I've erased that. I've erased that from my memory. To be honest, that was Moyes, wasn't it? If that was the
I
Moyes
think,
year, then that
yeah,
has been erased, mate. Honestly.
definitely. Sunderland have kept a clean sheet in 6 of their last 8 league games against Burnley, including each of the last 3 in a row. However, they've conceded exactly 4 goals in both of the other 2 games in this run. But to counteract that, Burnley have also lost their first home Premier League match of the season in 7 of their 9 seasons in the competition, with the other 2 seeing them obviously beat United in 09-10 and Southampton in 2019-20. Sunderland haven't won any of their last 24 away Premier League matches in August or September, drawing 12 and losing 12 since a 1-0 victory against Bolton in August 2009. At the moment, with what we were talking about earlier, you've been absolutely just silencing all these history markers anyway, and just completely erasing them and putting your new stamp on. And we've already conceded 19% of the league goals that we conceded in the entirety of the 24-25 season. I don't know. I mean, you said obviously you've seen the highlights on the Burnley game and things like that. Where do you think you can exploit us on Saturday? Like you say, you're looking forward to that battle of Mayenda and trying to utilize his pace. You've got Kyle Walker, who's been played as a right centre back, then instead of a right wing back. But I mean, where do you think you can utilise us?
I think there'll be one lost in midfield, Dan, on Saturday. 'Cause we've got, obviously Jagger, Diarra and Siddiqui who are playing there. And to be fair to them two, the latter two, they don't stop running. I think Siddiqui's still running now. It seemed like he just did not stop all game. Did not stop all game on Saturday. And I think that's, and that frees up Jagger to do what he can do. He's a real passing is unbelievable, and he can break up the play and stuff like that. And if you're midfielder, if we can get on top of that early, I think it'll be a difficult game for Ben to try and get into, because I think if we can get that one and exploit the flanks, which I think we'll probably aim to do. our pace. I just fancied us with our pace up against you guys, but we've got to. I think we've got to weather. We will have to weather an early storm. I think you will probably come out all guns blazing. 'Cause it's your first home game back. It'll be a good atmosphere and everything like that, and it'll kind of give us. It's another one of them ones where it's a different experience for these lads. These new lads who came in last week, in front of 48,000 Sunderland fans. To kind of change that where, we're the minority, you know what I mean? Even though, there's 3,000 Sunderland fans coming down, it'll still be loud from our end, but it's a completely different atmosphere. So it'll be another test of character. If we can get over that 15, 20 minutes, then I think the longer the game goes on and it's 0-0, I think we'll end up winning. But I think midfield and on the flanks is going to be where we aim to hurt you guys.
That sounds fair enough. And you'll be sat opposite where you normally sit because apparently we've swapped the away end around. So where you'd usually come into the stand at Turf Moor, you're now coming in at the back end of the stadium where the section of Burnley fans used to be in that away stand now. So it's going to be weird for even Burnley supporters. There's a lot of them actually pissed off at the fact of the club doing that. Because they've actually closed off that Brunshaw, the Ormerod Road way, and a lot of people walk that way to get home and things like that. And now they've been told they have to go arse way around it and go all the way around the stadium. So a lot of fans aren't happy about it. But I think it'll be better for atmosphere personally because then you've got a section of Burnley fans on that side, and you've got the upper and lower of the long side on that side, and it'll wake them up. Basic, because you're not going to get a tune out of the Bob Loaders. I'm sorry if there's any Bob Loaders in the chat, but they are tea, biscuits, flask, and cozy over knee. They're comfy in there. Even though they are wooden seats, they are still comfy. But yeah, it's going to be strange because the tunnel is now on the side where you used to sit as well. That's been moved. So there's changes galore happening at Turf Moor, and for reasons unbeknown, I don't know whether it's a long-term thing in terms of the stands may eventually have to come down and be rebuilt, and it's easier for access that way than to do the long-term thing. Who moving on from that? Who do you see as a threat when you look at the Burnley team? Obviously, we try. I suppose you can't really gather much info from that Spurs game, but yeah,
Do you know
who are
what?
we
Though
seeing?
I thought Burnley weren't as bad as the scoreline makes out. I thought the scoreline was harsh on Saturday. I thought I know Spurs scored quite early on, didn't they? It was Charles that
Yeah,
scored a little bit earlier on, but until the second goal went in, it could have been anyone's, couldn't it? Like you created chances and stuff like that. So it will be a hard game. I'm more like the more thing I'm more like a little bit worried about is how our team's going to react to a different atmosphere. I think that'll be it'll be
yeah.
very very because it's going to be different, obviously like that. And with regards to players, I know you mentioned on our pod last night. You're not a huge Jaden Anthony fan, but I thought he was excellent in the championship last year.
Oh yeah,
It's Josh Cullen, isn't he? Tends to normally try and bang
yeah.
one in against us. We've also got an ex Newcastle goalkeeper, Martin Dubravka there, so we'll probably like to do
Have the
that on
game of
him.
his life.
Probably, yeah, more than likely. But yeah, I mean, I keep on saying it's probably going to be a midfield battle. So your midfield, which I'm assuming will be Cullen and Lorient and Son, I think, won't it? Will that be the three?
Yeah,
I think if them three get on top of our three, that's where the game will be. That's where the game will be won and lost. So, but yeah, I'm still like I'm like looking at this. I'm still thinking there's still players I really like there. And Jane Anthony, I think, is a great player, but it's whether he's
I
like,
think
is he one of them?
on his day, he can be a really good player, but there is times where it's just like just get the ball into the box, stop fannying about on the
Yeah,
touchline. Literally get the ball in. Um, obviously we're not quite known for throwing numbers forward, and if we do throw numbers forward, that one lung busting pelt to get back into defence, which we saw last year, it's going to be a lot harder to do in the Premier League because you're going to be sat a little bit deeper, especially playing with a back five. It's going to be a lot more tougher to then get back into position, especially if there's players already bombing forward on the counter. You're then chasing that, but also chasing getting back into shape. So that worries me a little bit. My ender for me is the one
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the sort of little wizard that tries to really unlock Burnley defensively. And it's a case of you getting the bodies in the box at that point. But yeah, my end is the one for me that I almost think, yeah, I can't believe how young he is as well.
Oh, exactly. He's only a kid.
That's what I mean.
And
It's mad. He's built like a brick shit house. Looks like he's like done a fair bit of graft, and yeah, this is a young kid that potentially is the next gem to come out of the stadium a lot.
he reminds us a lot of Thierry Henry, and I know it's
Yeah,
very, very early stage and it's a massive thing to give him that. But the fact that he came, when Henry was young as well, he wasn't quite the finished product. And then when he went to Arsenal, he was unreal, wasn't he? And he's just
yeah,
like he's got pace, strength, power, knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, knows how to bring other players into the game and everything like that. But he also knows where when we're like in need of, like a cheeky free kick or we're in need of just a little bit of respite, he can go and run the ball into a corner or something like that because of his strength. I think if you give him a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, when he probably just needs to get a bit more of a footballing brain on, choose the right pass or choose the right time to shoot or whatever, I think he'll be phenomenal. I really do. I think you're right there. I think he's the fact is it's just the most surprising considering when we signed him. That was 2 years ago now, and he just wasn't given an opportunity. There was three managers that didn't fancy him. Obviously, Tony Mowbray barely played him. Michael Bale less said about the better, but he never played, and Mike Dodds didn't fancy him either. So the fact that Regis has given him that chance is amazing. Yeah, I think he's going to be a top footballer.
and again, it's only been one game, but what have you made of the officiating in the Premier League?
I don't think
Say
it
it
was
as
that
it is,
bad.
Anne. Say it as it is.
I don't think the ref on Saturday was that bad. To be fair, we didn't have to. It was Rob Jones, which obviously they're all crap. You know what I mean? I want to call him beach ball, but I think that was another Jones. Wasn't it? It was Mike Jones. Wasn't it? It was the beach ball referee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I'm just more worried like the VAR situation because we've not had VAR yet. Obviously, we had it in the Championship playoff final last
Well,
year where it
this
did
is what I was going
massively
to
help us.
say. This
But
is
we
what I was
haven't
going to
had.
say. Have you seen the guy who's on VAR on Saturday?
No, I haven't. No.
It's the same guy who was between the Leeds Everton incident.
Oh Christ! Right.
So we've got
Yeah.
Mr. John Brooks on VAR, um, two promoted sides that he's clearly going to have an absolute fun day with. Trying to take the piss out of us both, probably. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see what he does, or whether he's had a case of right. Come on, do your job.
Don't get one wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the
it's
actual
weird, isn't it?
referee is
How
Michael Salisbury.
is he the ref? Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind him, but uh, it's
Say that
amazing.
now. Say that now, like you can.
Exactly. But to be fair, had we, we've known each other for what 2 or 3 years now. Had we ever
Yeah, yeah,
come
yeah.
to a conversation where we were both saying, "Oh, what about VAR on Saturday?" In a team where we're both playing, it's mad, isn't it? It's
It
again.
is. It is. You know what? I'm so glad that you guys are back, though. I mean, it's one of those things that I think even the win against West Ham, I was still sort of like, you know what? Fair fucking play. Fair play. There's that part of you that doesn't want to be like that because you sort of like bastards getting points than we're not.
Yeah,
But you still have that. I'm glad that they're doing well. I sort of expect you to. You know what? That game is again, and I said it the other day that I think has turned my thoughts around a little bit. Everybody seems to wrap the three promoted sides off. Yes, it's still very, very, very early, um, but I believe that at least two of the three of us are going to be all right.
yeah. I think it was a very it can be a lazy prediction, can't it? Because it has
Yeah,
happened the last 2 years, and that's fair enough. But I just don't think like this year, and again, as you've just said there, it's one game, but I just don't get how you can, and this is just that, like kind of with us at the minute, where you can look at ours, and again, you don't win anything up here, but the fact you're looking at a team who's spent, neck end of 200 million quid, who's bought, some good young footballers, but have also, adapted that with the likes of Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka hasn't come here to be in a relegation battle. He's come here, to try and
yeah,
get us as high as we can. Otherwise, he wouldn't have believed in the project. Had he thought, oh, we're going to be, like 10 points adrift by Christmas, I don't think he'd have come. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's what we've had to do. We've had to kind of, as much as those players who got us promoted. You look at like your Luke O'Niens, your Dennis Serkins, and stuff like that, who probably won't be first choice. Your Patrick Robertses aren't going to be first choice. Even Enzo Lafay. I mean, if you told me 6 months ago when we signed Enzo Lafay that we would have started our first game in the Premier League, and he was on the bench, I don't know,
yeah.
nah, whatever. You know what I mean? I think it just
And you
goes that
just
there's
and you just
no
signed a
room.
defender from PSG as well that could potentially
Yeah,
replace
I
Dan
think it's
Ballard.
yeah, I think it's Midweeky or Midweeky or something or other he's called.
Yeah,
But Dan Ballard's not going to stay fit all season. You know what I mean? He
no, no,
gets a
no.
lot of injuries because he puts his body on the line all the time. He gets knocks, he gets a hamstring or whatever. It's the fact that they've signed like these players who, as long as they can adapt to the league, then that they'll be all right. But it's like this experience, it's strength, it's pace, it's everything that they've kind of brought in. And I just think, I think I've predicted, and I said sorry to you the other week, didn't I? I've predicted Burnley to go down because I want us to stay up, and I'm like, well, who's the other two I can pick? You know what I mean? But when you look at it now, and we were going through some of the squads yesterday, weren't we? You look at like Everton and
Yeah,
Everton struggle, your Brentfords, even like your Wolverhampton
Wolves,
Wanderers and stuff like
West
that.
Ham.
You're thinking West Ham as well. You're thinking, it's not really, it's not going to take much, is it? And I think this year, the three that have come up, because it was so much of a gap between, like obviously you can miss Sheffield United out. Sheffield United probably like bottled it towards the end, but
Yeah,
there was four good sides in that league last year, and they were the top four. That's why they were ahead of everyone by an absolute country mile, and that's why three out of them four went up. And because it was just so much of it. And I think when you look at the teams that have come down, I would have backed us last year to beat them three sides, especially at home. I'm not sure, in
we did. We
past
beat
you would have said
Southampton
that.
in the cup.
Well, there you
Marcus
go.
Edwards' debut, beating
Yeah.
1-0.
So I think that's the difference now, because there's a lot of sides now who have flirted with relegation quite a lot, but because of your Lutons and stuff like that, who haven't been good enough, in Ipswich from last year, because they haven't been good enough. You look at it now, where a couple of us are actually going for it now and trying to stay up. I think I think it'll be a different. I think it'll be. I really do think it'll be different this year, but we'll see. Again, I really don't want to get ahead of myself. I do want to be thinking, well, we'll be in Europe and all that blah. You know what I mean? Give me 17 now, I'll take it.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? But yeah, we'll just see what happens, mate. But I can see going back. I just think a lot of those pundits have written us off very, very early in the season, and
Easy to do, isn't it?
um, it's easy to do. And I think it's just that one where we just think about it every single time now, because Premier League's that good, but it's that good because there's some good sides in it, but there's also a lot of dross. You know what I mean? There's also some poor sides, and we're seeing that now. So
Let's
the
not
top
forget, if
four.
it weren't for those three teams that got promoted last season, we could have potentially seen two giants of English football in Spurs and United in the relegation zone. Do you know what
Exactly.
I mean? It just goes to show that okay, you can base it on the promoted sides, whatever, but it goes back to your point there that the teams that are actually throwing themselves into the challenge are willing to die for it and fight for it. That there is going to be a few twists and turns and
Mhm.
surprises along the way.
And I think as well that's probably why a lot of pundits have went, it'll be three to go down because of United and Spurs were that low down. But I mean, United were United. United were a basket case last year,
Yeah,
and Spurs very very early in the season gave up on ever getting into Europe other through the back door through the Europa League,
yeah.
and Ange pretty much admitted that whatever happens, we're not going to go down. You know what I mean? But we're going to try and win this trophy. They've won it, and now we look at them now signing some very very good footballers. Hopefully signing Eze. But obviously, with as we've been talking about, it could be Arsenal now, but like Spurs have improved. So. Um, yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, man. Every single week you'll see me with a smile on my face because it's that way. And a lot of fans will probably give me stick for this now, but I just can't wait to see, your salads in your hands. I've seen them before, you know what I mean? I just can't wait
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that. And if it's a year where, we have, it's going to only be a year, then fair enough. But at least we're making a bloody effort at it. And if it works, it works, and everyone's heralded as heroes and everything like that, and the sun will shine out of Christian Speakman's after it even more, which it does already. But yeah, I want to see what happens. I'm just glad to be back. You know what I mean? I was glad, and as you said before, I think it's well deserved. I think we belong here. I think we need to prove that we can stay here, and that's the next challenge.
definitely, definitely. You never know. We might even see Alexander Isak in a Sunderland shirt. Um,
Well, he's worth a 30 million bid, isn't he?
yeah, why
Worth a
not?
cheeky
Why
bid.
not?
I
Um,
think we'd rather play for us than them at the minute, to be fair to him.
he's even trying to tap up Darlington just in case that they need a striker.
Bless him.
Um, South Shields if he fancies playing in claret and blue. Um, but no, the big question, the penultimate question is scoreline. How do you see it panning out?
Um, you know what? I don't want to. I don't want to put too much because I'm terrible at predictions anyway. And I think out of the three games that we had, the first away game's always going to be the difficult one because of obviously of seeing what's happening with Brentford and we beat West Ham. So I would happily take a draw now. So I'm going to go for a Desmond, nice, entertaining 2-2.
I mean, obviously, a point on the road in the Premier League, no matter who it is always good. As long as it's not one of those like 90th minute feels like a defeat. Um, but
See, I think
I
that's
think
what it'll kind of be, but I'm not sure who to. You know what I mean? I'm thinking
yeah,
we may go ahead and use my turnaround, then we equalise, or do we throw it
you
away? Because we still a
equalise.
lot of games away last
Isidore
year.
90 plus 3 redemption.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, if we get a penalty on the pitch, he'll take it. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he'll do an Adebayor, but except he'll run to all three sides and turn the ball. He's just like, "Hey, have some of that." No, 2-2. I mean, fair shout, fair shout. I'd be very happy with just nicking it 1-0. They're always sort of hard fought. They're either hard fought or I mean, the last couple of games that we've had 0-0s. We've had where you've been on top for the first half. The second half is a completely different game and it's changed. Um, there's been some really good, nice, tasty affairs between us in terms
mm,
of the football. So yeah, I would happily take a 1-0 win. But I would also we have to go for the win at home. That's your bread and butter, isn't it? That's what you've got to be
that's it.
doing. That's where you've got to be taking points off teams. So I wouldn't grumble if it finished a draw, but because you'd be on a half from that opening week win, but we have to go out and put that 3-0 game to bed and
Yeah.
try and try and make something of it.
And then even though it might be, this early in the season, if we do win, we're already 6 points ahead of you guys and 6 points ahead of whoever else is in the bottom three or whatever. That's still a big, a huge psychological kind of boost for us. You know what I mean? So if we can get that win with Brentford coming next week, I think Brentford are terrible.
So I mean, you've got a really good run of games that you could put together there and get some decent results. I mean, what would you have said from your first 5 games? What would you have said points wise from your first 5 games? Like you've got us, then you got Brentford. I think have you got? I can't remember who it is after that.
We've got Palace at some point, and then I can't remember. I really don't care.
So you've got.
Isn't it Palace away and then Villa at home? Am I wrong there?
So yeah, you've got us, then Huddersfield. We'll forget that one.
Brentford.
But yeah, Brentford at home, Palace away, back at home against Villa, and then away at Forest.
Mm. Yeah.
So I mean, what would you have said even prior to last weekend?
I
What
think
would you have said points wise?
I think when we got the start of the season, we're looking at the fixtures. There's one bad month. There's a horrible December, but it could have been a lot worse. We could have been looking at say, like Liverpool first game, and then and then it puts pressure on us. It puts pressure on your home game or something. And say if it's like a Fulham or a Palace or whatever, who are good sides. The fact that and again, I don't mean to be disrespectful of any team there, but you look at them three thinking, yeah, we can probably win all 3 there if we get off to a good start, win all 3 or whatever, and then it kind of gives you that momentum going into you go to the first international break or something, you're undefeated, you're like mint, you know what I mean? I think the hardest one out of them on paper is probably Villa, but again at home, I fancy it against anybody at home this season. Even your big clubs that are coming down at the same light. It's the fact we made it so much of a fortress last year. But stay after 5 games, if we're sitting on between 8 to 12 points, I think it's a really, really good start there. So like maybe 2 wins, 2 draws, and then you can get a defeat in that. I think that's a great start. I think if you look at every quarter you're picking up say 10 to 15 points, and that's going to get you to the 40, isn't it? You know what I mean? And that's the magic, isn't it? Even though 40 or more and keep you up this year, it's still what I'm aiming for. If we get 40 points, brilliant. You know what I mean? Because I think we'll stay up there.
100%. And it's been cracking to get you back on. Obviously, I love chatting most weeks anyway, talking football, but now we're up against each other, as they've been calling it on the Absolute Football, the podcast derby.
Yeah.
Love it.
The big thing is that we'll still be mates no matter what.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's the big thing about it.
100%. Gary here, he's just put Brentford dropped to clanger by appointing Andrews as manager. No management experience whatsoever, and being a former bastard. I will also look forward to his demise. And Colin agreed with me earlier that home games we have to win. We do have to pull out. I agree. Yeah, thanks again for coming on. Obviously, I know you've been at work and stuff, so I'm gonna go let you put your feet up and chill out, or have an early night, whatever your plans are. But let people know. Let people know where they can find you and check your stuff out.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky at ant_Waterson. If you want to see more of me, I do, obviously with Dan, we do the Absolute Football podcast, do the Premier League on a Tuesday. And I'm normally on the EFL on the Thursday, because I still keep me toe into that, and the women's football season, which is starting. I do a Monday night podcast on Twitter Spaces for Sunderland ladies, or Sunderland women. Sorry, I'll get bollocked for saying that. Sunderland women, which is every Monday on Twitter Space, but we're looking to get that onto StreamYard or something like that. And on Wednesday with the Absolute Football girls as well. So find me probably just podcasting every bloody week, every day of every week. And I don't know that Mrs. hates us anyway, so it's all right.
So there you go. We've established that Ant is a YouTube slut And
I am a podcast whore, basically. Yeah.
but no, we love him. We love him. Can't get enough of seeing your beautiful face anyway, mate. So please do go show your support to Wan, and you know, if you like what you've heard, please do check us out, give us a follow, subscribe. Like I say, it's really nice and does help, and I really do appreciate it. Colin, finish off as well with Colin's comment. It says, "Good luck to
No, thank
Sunderland
you, man. Thank you.
after they've
And I,
played us, obviously."
and I will obviously extend my best wishes to Burnley because I think the Premier League needs teams like us, to be honest.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Let's relegate Newcastle there.
Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine? It just all becomes turmoil. He's actually the first of many.
It's
It's just
starting.
all goes
So
tits up.
it's already started.
But no, thank you very much for watching. As I said, there won't be any watch along this weekend as I'll be celebrating my birthday. So I'm going away. It was booked before the fixtures, before anyone says, I can't believe you've done that. It was done before the fixtures came out. So, yes, am I peeved? Obviously. But it is what it is. So, yeah, please do like, show us your support, and we will see you with another video real soon. But until then, take care, enjoy the game, and up the Clarets.